Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here. Autodidact and Dekkera. You see right there. See? Not Vector, but still works on a label. Brewing. This is their Vertigo Flowers collaboration beer, brewed at Autodidact, and this is version 1.1. It's a Czech pale lager with Saaz Mimosa hops. Saaz Mimosa hops. I've never had those before because they're just not available here in the States. So none of you in the States have had it before, unless you've traveled overseas. How'd they get here? I don't know. I'm not gonna disclose on how these hops made their way into the United States and into a beer at a brewery down the street, relatively speaking, to where I live. But we're gonna review it. This beer will come out either tomorrow or today, depending on when I want to post this video. Little sneak preview. Let's dive into it. Vertigo Flowers, Czech pale lager with Saaz Mimosa hops. I assume it's just, for me, I can get a lot of melon vibes out of Saaz. I assume we're just getting a little bit more citrus, maybe, out of them. That's my guess, being that they're called Saaz Mimosa. And that's all you get. This is canned yesterday at 4/19. Today's 4/20. And, yeah. Here we go. Let's dive into this sucker. See where it lands. So, a Czech-style pale lager with hops I've never had before. I can get down with it. Autodidact, a brewery I wish I can get to more often. It kind of, my new job, I got a new job. I love my new job. I am blown away by how much I love my new job. But one of the pitfalls of that is that I'm not close to these guys anymore. And it used to be about a 20-minute ride away from my work. Now, from where I work, they're an hour and change from where I work, but when I get out that way, I always stop by. So label-wise, they always kill it. Label-wise, again, negative space is king, and just has this beautiful kind of just upside-down, flowery goodness going on. As far as the beer goes, it definitely looks the part of a lager. They have a nice little itty-bitty horizontal there, so they're doing lagering right. It has this nice kind of clarity to it. I'm being nitpicky here when I say it's hazy, because it's not really all that hazy, but it's not like crystalline clear, like a macro lager or anything like that, but it is clear as clear can be. Nice kind of snow globy airing towards a little bit of champagne-y carbonation, pinky finger, a nice creamy, fluffy, with a bit of soapy edge to it kind of head on it. Give it a whirl. Comes back with a vengeance. Let's see what the nose has to offer. Maybe it's placebo. Maybe it's placebo effect, but I am getting a soft little citrus off of this. Sure, I'm still getting that melon, but with it being called Saaz Mimosa, I expect you're going to have that nice sturdy bittering on the taste, but as far as aromatics and taste also, you're probably going to lean into that melon with a little bit of citrus vibes, and that's kind of what I'm getting on the nose here to a T. A little bit of melon, a little bit of citrus, a nice little crispy crisp malt grist to it, almost like, I don't think there's any kind of flaked corn or anything like that in there, but it comes off as like hyper crispy boy status as far as aromatics go. Super crisp, super clean, Lagerville goodness. No lager funkiness, no kind of precursor to any kind of off flavors. Just has that little zip, that little kind of curveball in the hops there that you typically don't get from a Czech lager. Let's dive in. Cheers, y'all. Yeah, that hop is really, really cool. I'm not gonna lie to you. And again, I don't want to sit here and just kind of blame it all on placebo effect, but you do get this kind of citrus to it, but it's not really like a super juicy orange juice kind of citrus. It is very much kind of a rindy, pithy citrus that isn't overtly bittering. You get a decent bittering from the hop itself. It's a Czech pale lager. Of course, it's going to come off bittering, and you get that. So maybe even a little West Coasty on that, just a touch to the bittering here. It's almost like old school C noble hoppy kind of bittering to it, and then you get to the Saaz portion of the show, that little bit of melon characteristic, but then you throw that little dollop of that kind of like almost kumquatty as opposed to like orangey kind of citrus to it that marries really really well on both sides of things, both from the bittering side of things and both from a fruit side of things. Because like I said, for me, typically a lot of Saaz, there's a big melon component to it, but then there's the bittering. They're usually quite separate on their own. But when you're talking about the way this kind of mimosa hop kind of comes off, for me, it really has a bittering and citrus, again, kumquatty fleshy, that has both that bittering portion of the show and the citrus portion of the show as one. So it's like bridging the gap from that bittering to the melon side of things that you typically get from like a Zazie kind of hop, but in a really, really cool way. It definitely feels more of an Americanized version of a pale Czech lager because of that hop. Even though it's an American-based hop, it is originated probably, I would assume, it's a European hop only, probably Czech-based kind of hop. Whoever owns rights to Saaz is probably the person that cultivated this. I'm assuming it's just a variant, kind of like way you kind of clone weed and kind of do that whole kind of thing. They're probably doing with this. But with it having that little bit of citrus, because that's what typically happens with the Americanized kind of lagers, is they throw those traditional hops in and they throw a little bit of new school hops in, and you have that kind of new school, old school kind of interplay in it, and that's what you're getting here, but just from that hop, which is super, super cool. I mean, as far as the beer goes outside of the hops here, ultra crisp and clean, super snappy. Again, it is a lager through and through. No off flavors, no flabbiness, no kind of like lagery funkiness if it has like a stress fermentation or anything like that. And honestly, it's a really cool showcase of the hops, and appropriately so. Obviously, Saaz is just kind of like the end all be all when it comes to like lager hopping, in Czech and out those areas. But I'm sure you could use this hop in a bunch of different avenues, a bunch of different applications. But to put it in a beer that lets you show the hop off, I mean, there's a few better beers than a pale lager. Is going to let you kind of let you show those hops, let those hops kind of shine through and show everything that they have to offer. And that's really what you're getting here. You're getting a hop that is really, really unique, really, really cool, but has a bit of old school mentality to it, a decent amount of old school mentality, just not eschewing that new school kind of funness to it. Again, it's a lager. A lot of the flavors we're talking about here is quite reserved, based of like crazy saturated hoppy, this, that, and the other thing in today's kind of beer world. But as far as a uber traditional style with an uber traditional hop DNA, it's a very, very cool twist. It's very, very cool play on that old school coming into the new school, and just kind of walk this back away from the hops and talk about the beer. Brilliant. They're words and they're hard. Brilliantly executed beer from a lager sense. I've had a couple Autodidact lagers. They've been quite nice, but this one stands above the ones that I've had so far. Makes sense, comes with time. I mean, it's been a bit since I've been over there, and this is really just killer stuff and just really well made, top class lager with a really cool boutique showing. Too bad can't get it. Well, at least now. I'm sure it'll make it over here in the States sometime relatively soon, hopefully. But in the grand scheme of things, very, very tasty stuff. But yeah, I mean, what else you want me to say? Is it one of the better Czech lagers that I've had as of late? Yes. Is it Mount Rushmore status? Yeah. Actually, it is. It is that good, that tasty, that drinkable. All the good stuff are up inside this piece. Value availability, I actually don't know. It's just tossed a single can. With the boutique hops, smaller brewery collaboration, I'm guessing this is going to be upwards. Well, I think all their beers kind of kick off at $16.99, $17.99 at the brewery, $18.99 off the shelf. I could be wrong. Don't. So it's going to be a little bit pricier than what you expect. You're talking about a very, very small brewery doing small canning runs with a very, very boutique hop. It's hard to get angry at price points like that and leave you with, if you like what we like this. If you like lagers, if you like Czech lagers and you want to try a really cool, it's almost like weird because it's such a cool variant on it, but it's still through a very traditional means, being that it is OG hop status. It's a very cool twist. So if you dig on lagers, you very much dig on this. Like I said, this is the weekend of 420. I believe this is coming out this coming week, so I'll post this like the day before, the day after, give you a little heads up. And you know, if you find yourself in that area or in any of the places that they distribute to, I don't know if this is going to find on itself onto shelves. I do know they distributed like Bottle King and a couple other retailers throughout New Jersey. If you're in a lager, it's definitely worth checking out. Autodidact, have you been to the brewery? Have you had their beers? What's your favorite beer? Same thing, Dekkera. All that fun stuff down there. If you've had this, let me know what your thoughts are down there also. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying a little bit of Saaz Mimosa goodness. Hope to see you next time. Cheers, y'all.